Are you nearby?
Yeah. Wait, what? Okay, that's so stupid, dude.
Is the Havoc Demon Hunter going to be any good going into Shadowlands? Yes, the Demon Hunter, the class that almost everyone hates in BFA, so much so that you probably get spit on in-game on a daily basis. Well, in this video, we're going to find out. So welcome everyone to the official Shadowlands Havoc Demon Hunter PvP review. I'm going to try to keep this video a bit shorter than my previous war review, as I want to get out more of these on other classes, but you can always check out my live stream and ask me questions there, or in the comment section below. I've been testing out the class quite a bit over the past couple weeks, and I just wanted to provide some of my thoughts, as they might be surprising to most of you. The first thing that players will notice right away when logging into the beta is that the class feels slow, like really slow, and not in terms of its mobility, but it just lacks a lot of haste. Some might say this is due to the Azurite trait Furious Gaze being gone, but a lot of it has to do with the current statting of gear on the beta, which seriously lacks both haste and verse, two of your best stats for PvP, and this can really skew the feel of the class. Now, there are a lot of talks about the class ability changes coming to Demon Hunter in Shadowlands, some good and some not so good. Right off the bat, Demon Hunters are gaining a Mortal Strike effect via their PvP talents known as Mortal Rush. Your Fel Rush afflicts targets it deals damage to with mortal wounds, reducing the effectiveness of healing on that target. This is an AoE Mortal Strike ability causing 25% healing reduction that can easily be applied and have consistent uptime. This is massive, as the Demon Hunter was the only meta melee class in BFA that did not have a Mortal Strike effect. Demon Hunter is also retaining a lot of their strong PvP talents, one of them being Mana Rift, which works the exact same, draining 8% of life and mana from the desired target. However, this does come at a cost, as the Demon Hunter is also seeing various nerfs across the class. Let's quickly go over some of the nerfs. Blur is seeing a nerf with a loss of 10% overall damage reduction, however it is still a 1 minute cooldown that provides a 50% dodge chance and 20% overall damage reduction. The class's leech has also seen some change. Essentially, you must now talent into soul rending to receive leech, and overall it is a loss of 5% leech while outside of meta. Also, Blade Dance will no longer dodge attacks while outside of metamorphosis. The spec is also losing 2 seconds on the demonic window, as well as the beloved Azurite trait known as Furious Gaze, which granted a massive amount of haste for the class. There are some other minor class changes, but these are really the only ones that stand out to me for PvP. Now, without freaking out, I'm going to tell you that most of these changes don't really matter for PvP, and you'll see why by the end of the video. With that being said, let's move on to Legendaries. They definitely need some work. Most of them have an extremely low proc rate or just lackluster in general and only have niche use cases. You can run around as a giant demon with increased movement speed and range, but yeah, it's pretty bad and currently doesn't work in PvP combat. Again, some of these could be good in theory, but they just have a low proc rate and require some tuning when compared to some of the other class Legendaries, and I will have a complete list of them in the description box below if you want to check them out for yourself. However, two stand out in my mind of being the most effective out the gate without relying on RNG. One legendary reduces the cooldown of your Fel Rush by 30%, making it a 7-second cooldown, which could have some great use if talenting into momentum or requiring extra mobility for increased survivability. Another one that does stand out to be extremely useful is a legendary that affects darkness. Darkness is now automatically used if you fall below 35% health with a 2-minute recovery rate. This should only be used when spec'd into the PvP talent known as Cover of Darkness. But what makes this legendary even better is if Darkness is already on cooldown, you will still proc a second Darkness due to the legendary's effect. This one relies on no RNG and has a very practical use against Rogue Mage and other setup comps. However, you can certainly get away with using some of the other DPS legendaries if you desire. So far, the class isn't looking too great, but let's head into the class-specific Covenant abilities. You have Venthyr, Nightfae, Necrolord, and Kyrian. Venthyr and Nightfae are my preferred options, as they seem to be the most practical in terms of use case, but to be honest, and after some testing, you could probably get away with playing any Covenant of your choice for the Demon Hunter. Many players will be flocking to Venthyr, as some of their Covenant abilities across classes are very strong, and their signature ability, Door of Shadows, provide extra mobility. However, Sinful Brand and many other targeted Venthyr abilities are dispellable. Sinful Brand puts up a dot that reduces cast speed and attack speed by 30% for 8 seconds, but more importantly, the dot does a ton of damage and can be reapplied every 1 minute or when Metamorphosis is activated in an AoE fashion. If this wasn't dispellable, it would be my preferred Covenant choice by a landslide. So it must be timed accordingly, similar to the Obsidian Claw trinket from BFA. If you're going Venthyr, I'd probably recommend the General Draven tree offering several endurance conduit slots, which I believe are some of the Demon Hunter's strongest conduits, especially at max rank. Now the Night Fae offers the travel form mechanic that can be buffed through various Soulbinds, and it also offers perhaps one of the more interesting abilities known as the Hunt. Charge to an enemy, inflicting substantial nature damage and rooting them in place for 3 seconds. The target is marked for 1 minute, increasing your fury from Demon's Bite against them by 50%. You may reactivate the Hunt every 30 seconds to teleport behind the marked target, ignoring line of sight. I also noticed that you can teleport behind stealth enemies once they have been marked. This ability seems to be very strong at first glance, but it is a 3-minute cooldown and it's also a cast. The damage is decent from the initial charge and it has a large range, but it also feels a little clunky to use. I could see this ability being very effective in 2v2 and trying to connect to a healer and land consistent mana rifts, as well as having some solid use in 3v3 arena. Night Fae also has a decent Soulbind tree offering 3 endurance slots for their best conduits. The same tree also offers Soothing Voice, which would provide a slow following your root stuns and incapacitate effects, which works extremely well with your mana burn rotation and the theme of this build. Now Necrolord offers Flesh Shield, the popular signature ability for all classes that provides a shield and CC immunity when soulbound appropriately. With that being said, the Demon Hunter class ability is just okay. It summons a demon that you can kill to drop a pool, increasing your attack speed by 20% and reducing the damage you take from your enemies while within the pool. The pool is pretty small and will be easy to avoid. But one thing that is nice about this ability is when you pick up the Shattered Soul from the demon, you gain your class buff, increasing your damage done by 20% for 15 seconds. This is a nice 20% damage buff every 2 minutes, however, it's still in my opinion a little gimmicky. And finally, moving on to the Kyrian, it's definitely a no-go for Demon Hunters in my opinion. Although there are a couple decent Soulbinds, many of them aim to improve your Potions of Serenity, which are currently not usable in Arena, and I don't see that changing, as some of the Soulbinds would be completely overpowered and the potion itself would be ridiculous. In fact, if the potions were usable in Arena, I think Kyrian would be a very desirable covenant for most PvPers. Now the class ability itself does a bit of AoE damage on a 1-minute cooldown and does offer some consistent fury generation and healing with the Shattered Souls, but the rest of the covenant is just a bit too weak. But again, you could probably get away with any of these covenant choices and do fine, as it really comes down to the conduits for this class. So with that, moving into the conduits, where I honestly believe single-handedly carries the class this expansion. Yeah, I know, more borrowed power, but this is pretty much WoW in 2020. There are many unique conduits, and I will have a complete list of them in the description box below if you want to check them out for yourself, but the ones that really stand out to me are Fel Defender. The cooldown of Blur is reduced by 5 seconds with a max rank of 20 seconds. This would make your Blur cooldown a 40-second CD. Viscous Ink Demonic Wards grants an additional 8% with a max rank of 15% magic damage reduction, granting a total of 25% magic damage reduction, making you extremely tanky versus various spellcasters. And finally, Shattered Restoration. The healing of Shattered Souls is increased by 10% with a max rank of 25%. These conduits are honestly a little ridiculous at max rank, and to be honest, even with the changes that we saw earlier, the combination of these endurance conduits have me to believe that Demon Hunters will be even more durable than before. Having a shorter cooldown on Blur will allow you to deal with melee classes much easier, despite the Blade Dance or quote-unquote Blur nerf. And Viscous Ink will result in you being even tankier versus spellcaster comps than before, and also you're getting better healing from Shattered Souls. Once these conduits are ranked up, I'm sure that many Demon Hunters will be going into Soulbind trees that offer triple endurance slots. And although there are some pretty interesting damage conduits available, these are by far the best in my opinion. So before we end this video, let's go over what made Demon Hunters actually strong in BFA. Number 1, Mana Rift. Number 2, Team Utility and Spell Defensives. Number 3, Survivability and Mobility. And number 4, Consistent forms of Micro CC. Of course, damage could be added to this list, but these are the core fundamentals of Demon Hunter that make them excel in Arena. And when looking at this list, Demon Hunter has lost none of them. In fact, regardless of what you're being told, I think as these conduits begin to rank up, Havoc Demon Hunters may even be stronger than before. The fact is you didn't need Furious Gaze in Arena. Some players opted to not even take it because of its unreliability. So you may have a hard time at the start of the expansion, But once these conduits begin to rank up and you acquire the correct stats, and as it currently stands, I think the Havoc Demon Hunter is going to be a very competitive melee class. They're gaining Mortal Strike, they're retaining Mana Rift, and keeping much of what makes them good. Sorry if that disappoints some of you at home, as I know the Demon Hunter is a class that is very annoying to fight against. But that will do it for this video, you guys. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to subscribe, as it really helps me out, and we're close to 30,000 subs. Don't forget to like the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.